I've been getting questions about periods hundreds of times this week. I'm tired of hearing it. A lot of people are like,
how do idols deal with periods, whatever?
And I just got really confused and don't really understand this question because it's literally the same as everyone who has a period. Unfortunately, we as a society have decided that people with periods still have to show up to work. So we're all going through it. And there were a lot of people responding to each other's questions, like a lot of idols actually don't have their period anymore because they're underweight. And yes, that's probably true for a lot of people because that is not an uncommon thing to happen to people who are underweight. Your period stops. I don't know how common that was. I personally have not seen that happen to somebody. But yeah, most of the time people just push through, pop a pill, and use tampons. Unfortunately, there is no magic here. Sorry. As for leaks and that kind of accidental stuff, there's usually like backup pants or skirts, and you can honestly just talk to your stylist and be like, I'm on my period. Can't wear white, sorry. And they'll be like, oh, okay. I'm sorry, there's nothing crazy going on in that part. Back to tampons, because I just remembered a funny little thing that happened. Tampons are not very commonly used in Korea. I know a lot of people are using them more now, but even back when I was a trainee, tampons were not used very often. So when I was a trainee, this girl was on her period and she needed to like move, obviously. So she came up to me and asked if I could put her tampon in for her. And to that I was like, yes, I will put your tampon in for you. So we were just in the bathroom, face in cooch, maybe not. And I tried to help her pop it in, but unfortunately it did not work that day. Sorry. It was like an anatomy lesson for me. And as for my experience with my period, as a student in middle and high school, I had the most aggressive period cramps ever. It got to the point where I would constantly throw up, and I've also fainted before in the bathroom. I have a really high pain tolerance, but my period cramps would be like a 9 out of 10 for me. So obviously I was very worried about how my cramps would affect my trainee life and debuting and all that. But actually, to my surprise, my periods have never been more regular and easy after debuting, which was really weird to me. They suddenly became super consistent and painless. I don't know if it was a mental thing where I was convincing myself that I was actually not in pain, but it kind of worked out for me in the end, so I wasn't complaining. And you might be wondering if my cramps ever came back, and the answer is yes. I'm back to having extremely painful cramps. As soon as I returned to my normal lifestyle, the extremely painful period cramps came back. It's like my body yearns for stress and starvation. Before I end the video, I just wanted to talk about the narrative that I am exposing the dark side of K-pop. First of all, corny. Second of all, what exactly have I said that is dark? Half of the things I talk about can be found with a quick Google search. Is this what you consider dark? If anything, most of my content is just me talking about things that have happened to me in the past, and now looking back on it, I go, that was weird, wasn't it? And I share it with you. It is not my fault that you ask a question and you happen to not like the answer. I am sorry. Anyways, periods suck, and I'm gonna go shopping today. Bye! How did you hear about your fuck-ass company, and why did you go train there instead of going to a bigger company instead? Great question. We're gonna have to do another deep dive into my lore. So back when the very first season of Produce 101 was airing, I wasn't in any company and I was in the midst of finding a new one. And Produce 101 kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different companies, as it probably did for everyone. So I remember auditioning for a lot of companies that had trainees in like the top ranks. And one of the companies that I auditioned for was called Double Kick Company. This is important, by the way, so keep that in mind. And the reason I auditioned there was because Double Kick was a very famous producer in Korea. They produced a lot of hits for groups like Sistar and Girls' Day, and they were all songs I really liked. So I was obviously auditioning for a bunch of other companies at the same time, but Double Kick was the company that went on with the process the fastest. So by the time I was already signed with the company, I got a lot of phone calls back saying like, oh, we really wanted to work with you. Please let us know if it doesn't really work out where you are. So at the time, Double Kick had 2 CEOs. One was Double Kick, and the other was my enemy from hell. Fast forward to whatever year this happened. I don't remember the exact year, but you can probably Google it if you really want to know. There has been an altercation in the company, and suddenly these 2 CEOs split. And suddenly I'm no longer in Double Kick Company, and I'm in this like other fuck-ass company with its fuck-ass name. Now, should have this been my first red flag? Maybe. But like there was obviously some weird shady things going on. Now, to this day, I still don't know exactly what happened, but it was really a bummer because we really liked the staff that was at Double Kick, but we no longer got to work with them. Weirdly enough, we still did work with like the Double Kick producers, but I don't know what was going on. Some shady stuff was going on. I know I always say that I only speak for myself when I talk about these things, but right now I'm speaking for everyone. All the girls that were in the company at the time were there for the same reasons as me. We were there for Double Kick Company, not whatever the fuck ass company they decide to call it after. Anyways, it kind of really worked out for me in the end because when I was going through my lawsuit with my company, the first people that reached out to me were actually the staff from Double Kick Company, and they really came in clutch. They helped me out with a lot of things. So thank you to that. And if this story was confusing, I'm just as confused as you are because what the fuck was that? I don't really know the legalities you have to go through in order to change the name of your company and also change the CEOs or whatever, but I feel like there should have been more of a notice for that to the employees that were working there. But I don't know. I don't know how these things work. I'm pretty sure everyone felt scammed at one point. I hope that answers your question. Bye. Hi. I'm gonna need everyone to take a seat. So I wasn't actually really gonna say anything, but you guys started pulling information out of your ass and commenting lies. I'm gonna give you a play-by-play recap on what happened that day. If you are a fan of the other party that is affiliated in this situation, just telling you that you do not have to worry because he literally has so little to do with what happened. You actually don't even need to watch this video at all. So I land at the airport because I was in Japan prior to this, and I get a phone call informing that there's an article that has been out and this whole thing is happening. I'm still kind of like flabbergasted because I just got off the plane and I didn't have internet on the plane, so I didn't know what was going on. I get a phone call from someone from my company and they're like, we need to have a meeting now. I was like, okay, let's do that. So they take everyone else in a separate car to go to the next destination. Home, probably? I don't know. And they take me in a different car and we start going somewhere. So I get out of the car and I'm at this office. I've never seen this office before. This wasn't my company's office or anything. I still don't know where that was. In the office was a company higher up. We'll call him John for the sake of the story. So I'm still very shaken up about this entire thing because I was 19 at the time, and I don't know if that's old for you, but to me now that is a very young age. So I sit down at the office and the very first thing John asks me is, so what do you want to do about this? So I tell John, how about we deny it like a normal person would? Because if you look at it again, don't look at it again, but if you do, you'll see that there is no other evidence. The person who wrote the article was not even someone who frequents in writing celebrity gossip, and there were literally no photos, no evidence, anything. Like, it looked like it just came out of somebody's ass. But then, the little motherfucker John starts playing mind games with me. So John goes, but what if there are photos? And I'm like, but there aren't. And he's like, but what if? And that just keeps going back and forth. And then he continues saying that, you know, that if there are photos or any other evidence, it's only gonna look bad for the girl. It always does. So now John's mind games were really starting to get to me. So these mind games would probably have not affected Daisy of today, but Daisy of 2019 was a little dumb bitch. So she was getting a little affected by this. She started getting a little stressed out. And then John starts making a phone call. To this day, I don't know if this phone call was real or not. It could have been his lock screen and he just like pretended to be on a phone call. But he took a phone call with a representative of the opposite party, and he took the phone call in front of me. He was like saying loud and clear, like in front of me. He was like, oh, you're gonna deny it? Something along the lines of that. He was like, he just kept saying like, oh my god, so you're gonna deny it? And like he just said that 5 times. And then he just hung up. There wasn't a consensus they reached or anything. He just hung up and he looked at me and he's like, see that? They're gonna deny it. I'm like, yeah, they are. What the fuck? Guys, you have to understand that John and the company that he stands for is a stupid piece of shit. Like, so once John gets off the phone, he looks at me and he's like, did you hear that? They're gonna deny it. So what are you gonna do about that? I was like, oh, even better. Then I think we should just deny it too and follow suit. But then he keeps bringing up those friggin' photos that never existed. He kept taunting me with that, saying, oh, but it's like, you know, it's gonna be so bad for your image, and you're a girl, and if like anything gets released after, it's just gonna make you look bad. And it was working. Sad to say, I admit my fault. So the last thing I tell John is, then maybe if you know so well, then maybe you should just make the best decision for me. And that was their best decision for me, apparently. So in a very personal perspective, I honestly felt that I was being coerced to confirm it. That wasn't my initial decision, nor my final decision, to be honest. So I know when the news came out, everyone was like, oh my god, that's so embarrassing for her. Oh my god, I would die if that was her. Or stuff like that. And honestly, I get it. Like, I would have thought the same thing. But just wanted to make it clear that I knew, guys. I knew before any of you guys knew. So that's like not really what happened. Honestly, this one was kind of a ramble. I was all over the place. And to be honest, during this time, I was going through so much other shit that this was honestly the least of my problems. I've noticed that some of you guys like to paint me as, oh my god, that poor little girl, that poor stupid delusional girl. But like, I don't know. Believe it or not, that was not the case. And last but not least, to everyone claiming that that is the reason that I got fired in the end. I'm not going to elaborate, but if you use a little bit of deductive reasoning, you will soon find out that it logically doesn't make any sense that that was why I was fired. Honestly, you guys can make speculations all you want, but do not pull things out of your ass and be like, yeah, she said this before. Like, she said it on her TikTok live. She said it in her comments. Like, she said this with her own mouth. When I didn't. Why are we lying? Lying is a sin. I have no idea if this got my point across, so I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I might not even post it, but we'll see. Guys, my makeup kind of ate though. Bye. I know the secret to these teaser photos of the year. The product she used was the Medicube Collagen Night Wrapping Mask. I'm gonna give it a try. To make my base look even glowier, I'm gonna use the Booster Pro along with Medicube's PDRN Pink Serum. And I'm just gonna put the pink serum all over my face. And this is gonna help the product absorb into my skin even better. I honestly learned all of my makeup tips and tricks from all of the makeup artists that I've worked with when I was an idol. Because the makeup artists need to make these creative, unique looks, they always have the best tricks. So now I'm gonna take a little bit of the wrapping mask and apply it on the cheek area where I want to highlight. I've actually used an entire bottle before, but I typically use this at the end of my skincare routine because it helps lock in and absorb all the active ingredients that I put on my face before. And also it creates a barrier on top of my skin that helps block out any acne causing bacteria. I'm going to put on a glowy foundation on my entire face. I'm gonna tap the foundation on so I don't disrupt the wrapping mask. This side has much more glow, especially on the cheeks. And another thing I noticed is that putting foundation over the area where I put the mask on is like putting foundation over like a smooth, clean slate. Now for the fun part, the removal. I need to find here it is. So you could definitely try this out for like an editorial photo shoot moment. But I also think that if you're having like a bad acne day or something, you could use the mask underneath your makeup to protect your acne from getting any worse. And that is all. Bye!